Hello again guys, interesting video for you today. I have in front of me the Fayee FY804 Navigator. This is one of the smallest quadcopters in the world, and I've looked at something very similar in the past, the DHD-D1. I'll put a card and a link and everything if you're interested in seeing that video. But this one has got a significantly larger controller, which should make it a little bit easier to fly. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the side of the box, it actually shows a picture of a little teeny tiny nano hexcopter. So I'm really interested to see what that is and if that's a thing that's going to happen, because I'm sure this one's going to be fun and kind of twitchy like the little DHD-D1, but that might be really interesting. Let's open this up and dig into it. You get a user manual, which actually mentions headless mode. There's a USB charging cable, screwdriver, and 4 spare props, and then the quadcopter itself contained inside of its own controller. As you can see there, the sticks on this controller are actually decently long. That's going to be really handy. The controller takes 3 AAA batteries, which I conveniently have here, and as it was kind of alluded to earlier, unfortunately this does not charge off of its controller. You have to actually use the USB cable that's included. Well, that's interesting. If you look at the little cutouts inside of here, you can see there are spaces for a hexcopter instead of a quadcopter too. I'm guessing that must be the FY805 that was mentioned on the back of the packaging. I'm gonna have to look into that one because that looks really interesting. But the controller turns on using this little switch right here. You've got your sticks, which do not press in at all. You've got 2 bumper buttons, and you've got your little D-pads. So let's go ahead and turn this on and see what it sounds like, see how it flies. Turn it on. You can see it has blue LEDs in what would potentially be the front, and red in the rear, although I would be willing to bet this is the rear and the red go in the front. So LEDs are decently bright, and we are paired up. Oh, that sounds really quiet. There you go. That's what it sounds like. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let this run through its battery one time. Just in case you're not familiar, running through the battery one time gives it the chance to actually burn in the motors so it doesn't tear the motors up when you do fly it the first time. And with the little teeny ones like this, I definitely don't want to tear the motors up because that's what happened to the DHD-D1. The motors just died on me. So we'll be right back. All right, let's give this little thing a shot. This only took about, I don't know, 15 minutes to charge, maybe a little longer. Less than a half hour one way or the other. But we're in beginner rate. There's our spin, not bad. There's the second rate, wow. Okay, so there's only 2 rates, good to know. So beginner and expert. Wow, that's a bit much. And expert rate has that much pitch. You can even see this little thing. Wow. There's your expert rate funnels, even though it's not exactly a funnel. That's really precise though. Let's do a flip. Whoa, it gives itself a lot of throttle. Manageable though. Just don't do it too close to the ceiling. Yeah, expert rate may be a bit much for me, but it is sort of controllable. I mean, it is proportional, so you can, it just, after you get to a certain point, it sort of spins out. Kind of sporty, I mean, for a little twitchy quadcopter, but I'm going back to beginner rate for right now. Let's try the headless mode while we still got time. I think that's the button up on the D-pad. So there's away. And we are in headless mode, as you can see. And we're in headless mode going fast. Look at this thing, it's spinning like a top. That's amazing. I say amazing, I mean it's amazing because it's a Pico Quadcopter and it's able to do this. Just flipping out, spinning around. Can I do a flip? Oh, I can. Oh, that thoroughly confused it, but it did a flip while spinning, while in headless mode. I'm confused just watching it. It's like a little ninja. Anyway, we're back out of headless mode now. And we're back in beginner rate. So now it's just a matter of seeing how long the battery lasts. And I want to use it kind of like average usage, you know, flying around, doing funnels and flips, and just sort of generally having fun. You know, the one thing I will say is I think this is missing a medium rate. I think it would really do a little bit better. You know, this beginner rate, this beginner yaw is not a whole lot. It's not hugely fast. And the expert rate, the yaw is a little too fast. It gets to spin like that and it just goes nuts. So I think it would be kind of nice if there was a rate that was in between, simply because if I want to move around, this is a little bit more twitchy for indoor flying. And the beginner rate is a little bit too slow for indoor flying. Still, definitely very controllable as long as you're willing to be, again, very precise with your movements. I like it. I like it an awful lot. I love the way the controller feels in my hand. Because it's not teeny tiny like all the Nanos I fly, or even the other Pico that I've flown at this point. This controller is a very decent size, a very comfortable size. So yeah, I may actually reach out and see if they'll send me the FY805, if it's actually the hexacopter. Because I would love to check out a little hex of this size. Just have to be very, very careful with it, because the motors on these little things, not the best. They don't last very well. But as long as you're decently careful with it, I say after I just had a crash, the motors will last you pretty well, I think. And this thing's been going for a decent amount of time. I'm impressed. And that spin. One thing I will say is I'd be willing to bet this probably would not do hugely well in the wind. Although it's fast, it just doesn't have quite enough pitch. You can see it doesn't lay itself out, so in any amount of wind, it's probably going to get just blown away. That's the max pitch on the higher rate. So it's not laying out or anything. Not bad by any stretch. Oh, and it sounds like it's actually starting to get tired. But we're at 5.5 minutes already. Oh, and there we go. And I didn't see any LVC lights, but we're looking at about 5.5 minutes of flight time there. That's not bad. So yeah, I don't really think that I'm going to have a whole lot more to say about it than that. I really wish that it had a medium rate, but with the 2 rates it's got, it's very controllable, very flyable indoors. I may actually take it outdoors and try it out there just to see how it does in a little bit of wind, but I'd be willing to bet it's not going to do particularly well. This is probably a really bad idea, but I'm outside and it's kind of windy. So let's take it in high rate and see what happens. But we're out and we're flying. Just gotta hope the wind doesn't grab it. Wow, it's actually fighting the breeze surprisingly well. Very hard to see it at that distance though. Yeah, that's really doing well in the wind. I will say the one problem with it is just it's so small that it's hard to keep track of the orientation at distance. Because I can't see the LEDs on it. If I put it in the slower mode, it's not going to be manageable in the wind at all. It's just a little bit more pitch. And the range. I mean, I had like 40 meters range, at least. Look at that. So yeah, highly recommended. Really decent little price. It can fly outdoors in a decent amount of wind. And you can hear the wind in the microphone on this thing. Absolutely. If you're looking for a Pico Quad and you can control something this small, go ahead and check this out over on GearBest. Yeah, the wind is blowing pretty decently, and you might be able to see it's pushing straight into it. I mean, every time the wind blows, it just goes right on. It has gotten blown away a couple of times because it's so small, but yeah, it's pushing its way into the wind. It's actually leaning forward on its own without me doing anything. Very impressive. Very nice. Gust, and it just went straight into it. So I was definitely mistaken on that. If you buy one of these, definitely take it outside and give it a shot. That was an awful lot of wind that was coming in, and it had no problems fighting it. The only problem I had was just occasionally losing orientation because of the size, and occasionally there was a gust of wind big enough that it just knocked it away. I didn't react fast enough, or it didn't have enough power. But that was some very, very strong wind gusts. But it flies stable, it does very nice flips, it has a great headless mode. I'm a big fan. So if you're interested in this, I'll put a link down in the video description to where you can check it out. Thanks so much to GearBest for sending this over for me to take a look at. Remember to leave a thumbs up below this video if you like this video, subscribe to receive more of my videos when they become available, and we'll see you again next time. Even beginner rate indoors works really well. This is medium rate though. Medium rate's probably my favorite. I will say though, turning from left to right, you can't do it fast.